Hello, 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 and thank you for watching another episode of Kicking It with KeKe, Life, Love, and all that other shit. I am your host, KeKe Chanel, award-winning author, lifestyle blogger, and certified life coach. The overall theme for Kicking It with KeKe is all about mindset and personal growth. I believe that when we operate as our best self, we go through life more abundantly. That being said, you guys know how I like to do. I like to give my guests the opportunity to introduce themselves, to tell you who they are and what they do. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to her. Hello. Thank you for coming to kick it with me. So tell the people who you are and what you do.
Well, hello. My name is Ashley Gooden-Stewart. I am the CEO and founder of Baby Stewart Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization that helps vulnerable communities in the Galveston County area and some states across the South and also outside the country. I'm also a certified grief coach and the book author of Growing Through Grief.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Before we get into all things Ashley, I always have to ask the questions about mindset and personal growth because that's the overall theme for Kicking It with Kiki. When it comes to mindset, what is something that you do to elevate your mind on a positive level every day?
Every day, what keeps my mind right and keeps me afloat is just giving praise to my maker. I have to get up, hit my feet on the ground. I thank him throughout the day, even through all the bad things and the challenges and all the obstacles. I just look to my maker and have a little talk.
Absolutely. And that you can't go wrong with that. I'm a woman of faith, so I believe in God over here. I don't know what everybody else is into, but I am not ashamed to say that we're kicking it with Kiki. You have to have that personal relationship yourself. You just can't just go off on what somebody tells you. It's more intimate when you have it with yourself. And I'm glad that you acknowledged that. I always wake up with an attitude of gratitude because somebody didn't make it. So we have to be mindful of that. So maintaining that positive mindset, having a little talk with God don't never hurt nobody, right?
Absolutely.
When it comes to personal growth, same question. What do you do daily to help develop yourself on a more personal level, as far as personal development and personal growth?
For my personal growth, what I do daily is kind of check in with my emotions. I want to feel in order to get through anything that I'm going through. I don't want to suppress my emotions. I don't want to fake the funk. Um, if I'm feeling sad, I honor it. If I feel angry, I honor that. And even if I'm happy, I just want to spread my joy and peace throughout the world.
Absolutely. I love that. And we're gonna touch on that a little bit more because I love what you just said. I honor my emotions. Woo, that's heavy. That could be a little deep for some people because we always think of emotions as more on a negative side instead of taking it and turn it into something positive. I love that. Okay, so let's talk about how you started the grief coaching. And I read your bio and I couldn't wait to have this conversation with you because it's unfortunate that we are a member of one of the same clubs, losing a child, the loss of a child. I see that you lost your child back in 2015. We lost our daughter, and she was 19 years old. So it has been a journey since then to try to process, work through, overcome, get through, and all of the things that grief brings. So, how did your journey of becoming a grief coach start?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I when after I started my nonprofit organization in 2015 after the loss of my son, and that was to honor him. I was running from the calling, as far as being like a support to someone for grief. Like I was standing the advocacy role for infant loss awareness, but man, I could tell you whatever job I ever worked, and I worked mainly like work from home jobs, and I have a caller calling in from all across the United States, probably at towards the end of my shift. saying how they lost a child. And then I started asking myself, like, evaluating myself, like, I'm human at the end of the day. They're
Mhm.
human. I can give them my vulnerable side. I can be transparent. And the good thing is it wasn't face to face, it was over the phone. So not only am I coaching this person through quitting smoking tobacco or using tobacco products, because that was my former role. And I was like, man, maybe I do have this gift. I really didn't need the necessary certifications um to be a grief coach or to be a peer support to someone
Mhm.
who is bereaved or a grief companion. However, I knew if I was going to work with diverse populations that I needed those credentials. I needed people to trust me. So in 2020, that's when I noticed it was a lot of hurting. A
Mhm.
lot of hurting. People were coming to me. People just had a lot of losses in their families. And not only just, a loss of a loved one, some of them were just experiencing financial loss, divorce, loss of self, loss of a home, job, you name it.
Mhm.
So it was just deeper than death. And we, during 2020, we all can relate. We sitting at home with these emotions that we never got to process because of our daily routines with school, with parenting, with work, just everything. So some kind of way I stumbled across the Grief Coaching Institute. I called Dora. Well, rather, she called me, Dora Carpenter. That's the person that's over from Grief to Gratitude program,
Mhm. Okay.
and that's how I got started, and it took off ever since. So 2020.
2020. Wow. So, what has been the most challenging part of being a grief coach?
The honestly, the most challenging part is a person that's wanting to stay with those negative emotions and not move forward because in that moment they feel that they are still tied to their deceased loved one and they're doing a disservice to them if they were to let go of the pain, the negative emotions, the turmoil, the darkness, the depression. So that's the most challenging part. Helping a person to understand you're not letting your loved one go by moving in a forward positive direction. You're just letting go of everything that's weighing you down.
Right. Right. I love that because a lot of people, when we experience loss, we feel like we shouldn't just we shouldn't mention them again, or we shouldn't talk about them, or just, like they never exist, at least in my experience. But I had to realize that they did exist. They were here. We have those memories. God gave us that time for a reason to draw from when we feel like we don't want to get out of bed that day, or we don't want to go to this party, or this place that we once used to go to with our loved one. And we have to realize that we're not being selfish by making sure that we okay, because I know for a fact that our loved one would not want us to just stay in a dark place and just give up on life. And it took me a while to get there. It took to me, and I like what you said about holding on to pain, letting go of pain. I had to let go of everybody else's pain that I was carrying and acknowledge my own, to realize that yes, she was my bonus daughter, and I didn't physically birth her into this world, but she was in my life since she was 2, and we had that relationship, and I lost her too. So understanding that moving forward does not negate the person that you lost, or uh you know you don't see them for anything less. It's okay to move forward, and a lot of
True.
people are still at that point where they feel like they're guilty for that. So let's talk
Hmm.
about letting go of that guilt. Like, what would you
Yep.
say to someone who is grieving the loss of
Okay.
whatever? It could be a job or whatever. What would you say to someone who just feel like they are guilty for moving forward?
So the guilt of moving forward, it's normal because I too experienced it because in my mind I was thinking, wow, I wouldn't really be in this place enjoying life had I had this baby on my hip, and then I felt guilty. I felt down. I couldn't be present in the moment because I kept thinking of him and what I would have been doing. But I think we just need to give ourselves permission to be present in the moment, to be in a space where we are deserving of joy, we are deserving of happiness. Um, we deserve, the blessing of getting up every day to honor them, and at the same time do what we want to do, reinvent ourselves if we have to, because that's a part of the process that we don't talk about either. Leaving our old selves behind, because we will never get back to the person that we were.
Mm-mm.
So everything is just our new normal at this point. So the guilt will be there. However, each day we need to do something to commemorate our loved one, to honor them, but still honor ourselves and give ourselves grace and that love too.
Absolutely. And I'm glad we're talking about grace because I had to give myself a lot of grace. I still do. And it's hard because some of those days is just like a wave of emotion that comes over you and you don't want to have fun or laugh or smile because you in that then you still in that mode like dang, they're no longer here. So I shouldn't be happy. I shouldn't have happy days, or I shouldn't have days where I want to go do this and that and that. So I like the fact that you just poured into somebody because you just poured into me as well with saying the things that you said. So let's talk about how you came up with the name for your grief coaching. I love a pocket full of hope. How did that come about?
Well, I like this one song, "Pocket Full of Sunshine." I know we'd all heard of it. It's a little pop song many
Hmm.
years ago, and I'm like, it's another side of grief that people don't understand, and that's joy. Grief and joy can coexist. And on this journey, I felt I started to feel optimistic. I started to feel hopeful. I started to feel um, that I had divine favor. I was blessed, and God was not going to let me suffer, and that it was light at the end of the tunnel. So when I thought of those things, the happiness, it made me drew me back to thinking of that song, and that's how I came up with it. So if you ever see me at an event, which I'm requested more these days to do the grief side than my nonprofit, honestly, because people are needing the grief
Mm-hmm.
um, support. And if you see my table, it has like pink flowers. I might have on different colors, and people are like, "Wow, like this is beautiful." Like, really? Like this doesn't come to mind when I think of grief. I think of darkness. I think of wearing black. All the symbolic things that our society was accustomed to. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming in on the flip side and smiling, joy, and laughing, and letting people cry with me, and I cry with them, and it can be a beautiful experience once the healing kicks in. So that's what I want people to see. That's what I want them to visualize.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the name. I love the concept. I love that you are allowing God to use you to help other people because you could have been selfish and say, "No, I don't want to help anybody because I'm trying to get through it myself." So, thank you for being obedient to the calling. A
Thank
lot of
you.
us run from it. Yes. So, let's talk about your book, Growing Through Grief. How did you know that you wanted to pen the story or talk about it?
People have been asking me, emailing me, messaging me, coming up to me in the grocery store. How did you get over your grief? How did you? I'm like, get over it. That's
Don't.
something I never do.
Right.
Not that part, no, because where there is grief, there is love, of course. And I, I, I shared and I bared the parts that I wanted to share.
Mm,
Now, I didn't get down to the very grit and detail of the nature of my son's death, and I won't. However, I did give people an idea of the rawest emotions that you feel. And it took me 7 years to even get the courage to even write a book, to let alone publish it. But man, it felt like a relief. It felt so liberating to share the necessary tools, the steps. I mean, even I went into people even retirement, going into through retirement.
mm,
For instance, like a teacher maybe lose their identity because after 40 years of teaching, then who are you?
right.
And then that self discovery with that. And and then I went over the steps during, the holiday times for birthdays, what to do. Like maybe you need to disconnect yourself from social media. So it's about 60 pages. I didn't want to get, too preachy and have a lengthy book,
Hmm.
but just give people an idea because I know I'm, a busy mother. I know a lot of other busy workers and bosses, and they want to just thumb through the book. I have thick grief books that it's like the grief Bible, but I couldn't get through it. I'm up here sobbing and I'm trying to thumb through some of the books I'm just now finishing to completion, but I just wanted to give people a brief idea and then maybe make it into a series. Maybe next for me is to write grief and joy. Who knows?
Oh, yes, I love that idea. You should really, yes, I love that idea. And you're absolutely right. People are on the go. Everybody is busy. They don't want something that's going to take like a long, long time to read, but they want the meat of it, and they want something that is actually going to be helpful instead of keeping them to where they are just still at the same place they were before they picked up the book. So that is
Right,
amazing, especially as an author, because I'm a fellow author as well. So we have to write with our audience and our readers in mind when we're putting things on paper, because without them, then there's no us as a writer, right? Because they have to
right,
support and buy and purchase and things like that. And grief is never easy to talk about. So it it's 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 just it's very emotional, put it like that. It's a very
right.
emotional subject to talk about. So I want to go back to something that you said earlier about honoring your emotions. Like, how did you even get to that? I've heard that, but not in the way that you said it. So how is that? If you have to describe what that means, how would you describe it? Honoring your emotions.
I would describe honoring your emotions by maybe spending some time alone. You could be taking a walk, you can be deep in meditation, you can have that quiet time, and that will be like the most safest, comfortable space to even unpack your emotions. Just being maybe in some type of isolation. Um, because I mean, we go to therapy, we have friends, we have support circles, we have online communities who validate our feelings and emotions all the time. But we need to know us and be in tune with ourselves and have that, I guess, not even necessarily the emotional intelligence to check in with yourself, but just to maybe just be in tune with yourself.
Yeah, and I think honoring emotions comes with self-awareness. You have to be aware of
Absolutely.
yourself to even know that you are in an emotional space, because all emotions are not the happy, joy, hope and all that. There is sadness, there is you get anxious and all of those things, and those are
Hmm.
part of emotions. Those are forms of emotions, and it's okay to feel that way. The problem occurs is when you stay that way, especially if it's dealing with the bad side of the emotions, because we could go through months and months of being happy, and then sadness will just hit us like a ton of bricks. And now we're trying
True.
to figure out, where did this come from and how do we work through it? So I love
Right.
that you talk about, just being isolated or being one with yourself, in tune with yourself, so that you are able to move and maneuver through those different emotions that come from day to day. I love that. I love that. And y'all, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be happy. It's a part of who we are. We are human. We have
Right.
emotions. They happen every day, sometimes good and bad. Sometimes you may experience both in the same day. Take a breath,
Absolutely.
breathe through it, and process it. And sometimes we are triggered. Our emotions get triggered by certain stuff. We might see something on television that remind us of a loved one, or we might, see their favorite color, or see something that they really loved, and it just takes us back to, like, dang, they're not here anymore. So y- give yourself grace and take some time to process it. That way, if it happens again, it won't be like as a ton of bricks hitting you all at once and knocking you off your
True.
feet. You're able to just, you know what, I feel it. Let me just take a minute, and then you'll be able to move forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So, how would you tell someone, like, if they wanted to work with you and be a part of your, support your foundation? And let's talk about the foundation a little bit too. So let's talk about the foundation first before you tell people how they can work with you. So tell us about the foundation and all of the things.
Wow, this has been like an incredible journey with Baby Stewart Foundation. So we actually started off by just giving out free car seats, baby diapers, clothes, baby necessities, hygiene care, bereavement support. So that's how we started off, and car seat safety.
Mm,
But throughout the years, we were hit with hurricanes. One of them that comes to mind is Hurricane Harvey
mm,
in the Galveston area and Houston area. So that kind of changed the way we served. So we started doing disaster relief. We even went down to like Lake Charles. We went to Baton Rouge. We even went to Mississippi during the water crisis and gave out water. So we're hands on. We don't really necessarily give our stuff to other organizations to, I guess, pass out the supplies. We want to actually touch the people. We want to be in the trenches, in which we are in the trenches,
mhm,
serving the people. But whoever expresses the need, we give to them. Regardless, we every quarter we do homeless outreach at God's Kingdom and Restoration Ministries. That's in Galveston. It's called the Master's Table, and it's so beautiful. Like I wish you could see it. Like the setup, nice tablecloth, centerpieces. Like we are really doing kingdom work. The people eat um, steak and potatoes and salad sometimes, like a T-bone steak.
mhm. Nice.
They get fed spiritually. They do have prayer and devotion, praise and worship. Um, man, it's just beautiful, and we just pass out the hygiene bags. One of our partnerships we have is Bumbus, so we give out the nice Bumbus socks
Nice.
to the unhoused too,
Mhm,
or whoever is participating that day. But yeah, so done some great things. Some of these countries I never been to before. We have some worker bees in Houston. I call them our good stewards, and they will take some of the supplies and go take it to Africa, take it to the Virgin Islands. Maybe they'll um have like arrange for like a plane to deliver the supplies to them.
oh,
And
nice.
in Mexico at an orphanage, they were celebrating my baby. I've never been. They're working on trying to get us there, get my team
Mhm,
there, so we
mhm.
can take a visit and a tour of the orphanage. They were celebrating him on Children's Day, and it was beautiful.
Nice. I love that. So if people wanted to help with the foundation or donate to the foundation, tell us, how can we do that? Like, give us the information so I can make sure that it is in the show notes and people can actually help.
Okay, so you can find Baby Stewart Foundation on PayPal. So that's one avenue that you could donate. Uh, you can also find us on www.thebabystewart.org, and we're also on Instagram, thebabystewart, and Facebook, thebabystewart.
All of this information will be posted. And so you guys make sure that pray about it and see if you're led to help with this foundation. It's a beautiful work. It has great, intentions behind it. It is actually making a difference in the lives of people that have endured so many hardships. So why not continue to bless people with an organization that they have their foot on the ground and actually doing the work, and the money and the resources are going to the people that need them, because we have organizations, well established organizations, that's all about money, and the people are just getting nothing. We have scams out there, and this is not what this is. So make sure that you go to the website, take a look at everything, and get familiar with the overall concept of the foundation, and reach out and offer your hand if that's what you're led to do. So what's next for you, the foundation, and the grief coaching and everything? What's next for you?
Whew. Oh, so I am booked and busy. I have something planned every day of this week, honestly, with the foundation and with grief coaching. So, what's next for us? We will be in Kansas City. We will be at the Care Portal conference towards the end of April, and we will be, you know, perfecting our skills in nonprofit leadership and management, and connecting with people on how to connect our local community with different resources and link nonprofits together to better serve vulnerable communities.
I love it. And tell people how they can get the book, Growing Through Grief. Where can we find it?
Yes, Growing Through Grief. It can be found on Amazon.com. I do have an ebook on there and also a hard copy.
All right. Information will be in the show notes, guys. All of this information will be in the show notes, so that you can go and support and get this copy if you're led to get it. You may not be experiencing grief yourself, but you may know some family members or friends or loved ones or anybody, coworkers, that may need to get some assistance in helping to heal a little bit from the grief that they're experiencing. So, Growing Through Grief is a short read. She said it's about 60 pages. So go and get that for them and make a great gift. We have Mother's Day coming up. We have Father's Day coming up. It's birthdays and all of the things, graduation season. So we have to start being mindful with the things that we give to people, because I think it's a community effort when it comes to helping others overcome certain things in life. What you think about that?
Absolutely. I think that mental health is important. Grief and loss is just as important. Physical health, like self care, as you mentioned, we do need to pour into our own lives and ourselves, and we need to pour into each other.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, you gave us all you jumped the gun on how to connect. So you gave the handles for the Instagram, the Facebook. Let's tell them one more time how they can connect with you guys. Just tell the handles one more time. They will be in the show notes, but go ahead and tell them again where to connect with you guys.
Yes, so Instagram, the Baby Stewart. You can find us on Facebook, the Baby Stewart Foundation, and also on our website, www.thebabystewart.org.
Absolutely. All right. So on a personal note, and I like to ask this question for all of my guests, what would your now self tell your younger self about honoring your emotions? Let's go there, because grief happens and we don't want to get a little, too heavy on that. But what would your now self tell your younger self about the importance of honoring your emotions?
Ooh, if I can tell my younger self, because oh my God, back then I was a whole hot mess and I was numb to a lot of things. And I don't even think I gave people their flowers or just let them know like what they meant to me back then. So I definitely would have told my younger self it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to cry, and it's okay to feel what you feel. You're human. Just be patient with yourself. Give yourself grace, and these feelings and emotions, um, are to help you get through whatever you're going through.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. So with that being said, you guys have been listening to another episode of Kicking with Kiki, Life, Love, and all that other shit. I have been joined today with Miss Ashley Gooden-Stewart. She has been talking about her book, her foundation, grief coaching. Uh, before we get off, are there any words of encouragement or inspiration that you would like to leave the listeners with today?
Yes, so I would like everyone to know, to make sure to take care of yourself. You only have this one life to live. Make sure you make your life beautiful, and just pour into yourself and implement self-care.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you for coming to kick it with me today. It has been an amazing episode. I say this every episode from this season, it gets better and better. My guests are just phenomenal. And I'm glad that you reached out. Thank you for that. We need more conversations like this so that they can become normal. And then we'll know how to recognize when someone is really in pain and just need a listening ear. Because sometimes people just need to talk and they just need us to listen. Sometimes we may need to talk and we just need other people to listen. So, having these conversations that helps change the narrative in our culture, our consciousness, and our community would take us so much further than we can imagine if we just keep having these conversations, showing up for each other. Well, we first have to show up for ourselves. So, again, thank you for coming to kick it with me. It has been a pleasure. You guys, thank you for tuning in. I am back with another episode every Thursday at noon Central Standard Time on all podcast streaming platforms. We're also on Audible, and you can catch this right here on YouTube as well. So until next time, be good to you so that you can show others how to be good to yourself. Know that it's okay to not be okay. The problem occurs when we stay that way, and grief happens. It's a part of life. Don't let it keep you from living yours. Okay? All right. Purple hugs. Talk to you later.